Me am Neanderthal. Me not understand how to preserve health. Me am like freedom. Me am lower form of life for liking being American. Okay, that's more of a weird gorilla thing, but you get the drift. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin. Welcome to the Stone Age.
Indeed. Or the podcast. Let's get going. Well, to get us started, let me just say, welcome to the podcast, fellow primitives. At least that's what we are, according to the fucking president.
Reject society, return to monkey.
Well, more or less return to caveman, so I guess it'll be easier for me to get a wife, though, because now I'm not a civilized human being. I can just go out into the street, club a woman, and then drag her back to my apartment.
Your cave, you mean? You have a cave now.
The two are synonymous. It was always a giant man cave anyway.
I don't know. There was a disturbingly low amount of stone and stagnant puddles of water when I was over there. Unless things have changed significantly.
Not telling. But yeah, I wow. This was one of the most. I'm not really somebody who gets like offended, but I am somebody who I hear certain things and I just kind of go, man, are you for real right now? Are you like seriously, dude? Like, why do you have to be a jackass? And this is one of them. So basically what we're referencing, for those who do not know, President Joe Biden, he went on and, in a reaction to Florida and Texas and other states reopening, basically said that the governors of those particular states were being Neanderthals. Now keep something in mind. Our country has been hurting very badly because of lockdown. Very badly over the course of a year. And there has been no end in sight from the Fed. The Fed is basically saying extend, extend, extend. Oh, and while we're at it, let's bail out all the unions. It's like 2008 all over again, but with more disease. So I listened to this and I thought to myself, like, you are criticizing people for wanting to have a normal life again. Because there's no excuse to sit there and say that there's, like, I hated that he went with the whole buzzword of follow the science. We talked about this on the overflow, but, like, this really set me off. Follow the science. Alright, so if I look up the term vaccine, and I look up the term, what is it? Fuck. This is what I meant by, like, my rhythm being off before the podcast. Like, herd immunity. If I look up herd immunity, what am I going to read there? Because that's the science of how these sorts of things are supposed to go in nature. Or is that not the science we like? Would you rather me follow the science that says gender is on a spectrum? No thank you. You know? There's a difference between science and what the liberals say is science. There's the actual science, and then there's, like, Bill Nye the Science Guy science. We got a donation in, and this is Bill Nye shit. I'll just tell you that right now. Joe Biden's so old, he probably thinks that Bill Nye the Science Guy is still on air on Saturday mornings. Got a donation in. Servant says Biden is a moron. He should not return to monkey. In all seriousness, let's hope more states open up and spit in his eye. We're going to see that. We are. We are going to see more of that. Because you've got several states out there where their economies have basically gone under because of this. And you've got people that are stir crazy, wanting to go out to restaurants again, wanting to go to the gym again, so on and so forth, that are not getting the opportunity to do so. And the thing about it is, these states don't have to listen to the fucking Fed about it. That's part of the point of federalism. Is that states have their own autonomy. So they can say, mask mandate's over. You know, crowd minimums are over. Make your own decisions on what you feel is best for your health. And the citizens can go with it. And you could still go out into the public with a fucking mask if you want to. You want to stay 6 feet from everybody, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to require
Nothing wrong with it. Yeah. It's just like some of the businesses in Texas are still requiring you to wear masks to go in there, as is their prerogative. But statewide mandate, over with. Problem? I'm not seeing it.
I'm not either. But this is generally just the philosophy clash. Joe Biden is pushing a lot of things that increase reliance on government. Mm-hmm. This is the same playbook that Barack Obama did. That's why I said last week it's like Obama's ghost is in the White House. You know, a lot of Obama's policies were created to increase reliance on government. It's the exact same shit here. They want people to be reliant on bailouts, things like that. They know that the bill is going to come due. They don't give a shit. But they think it'll keep them in power. What they don't understand is that, again, people are going stir crazy. Nobody wants to be locked in their fucking house all the time. You know, I don't like it. I can tell you that right now. I fucking hate it. I want to go back to the gym. I want to do all this other shit. I don't want to be cooped up here anymore. It's fucking stupid. I want to be able to go out at night, specifically. I'm an all-night guy. I'm a third shift guy. The fact that I have not been able to go to the gym overnight when there's nobody there, that's bullshit. It's fucking stupid. And to act like people who want to be free, the freedom to do these things, the freedom to go out again, to act like they are primitives somehow, go fuck yourself. It is the definition of a let them eat cake attitude. But this is what people voted for. You voted for elitists. That's what you get. Mm-hmm. Stop voting for them.
You get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah. Bobcat throws in a buck, says, I knew I keep getting on the verge of a breakdown with this constant lockdown stuff. Also, isn't it nice to have a president who doesn't call people names? Goodness. Alright. Hatman. Tell us why Cuomo sucks.
Good God. Why doesn't he suck at this point? Apparently, he's been accused of sexual impropriety, misconduct, by 3 women now, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is what's prompting people to call for his resignation. Cuomo, however, has apologized for making people feel uncomfortable, and said that he won't resign. And I think he's going to survive this because if dickhead governor of Virginia, whose name I'm forgetting at the moment, um, if he can escape accusations of racism with pictures of him in blackface attached, I'm fairly certain Cuomo can escape being Me Too'd, especially if he's pretty much already getting out of the whole, you know, being responsible for the deaths of thousands of senior citizens thing.
Yeah. Servant throws in $1 here and says, I don't recall let them eat cake mindsets working out for those having it. It usually doesn't. In this particular, situation, it's kind of weird because this is one of several situations where we're starting to see the left's true colors. You know, some of you might remember this over the last year. I covered a lot of what was going on with the Me Too sagas and things like that, you know. And one thing that I have noticed is that whenever it comes to left-leaning politicians, Me Too is very quiet. Very quiet. One thing I found interesting is finding out is I'm not responsible for changing her mind, but I'm definitely somebody that she likes. Rose McGowan actually reads my articles. I found that out from somebody at RT that interviewed her. So that's kind of funny. But that was something that I pointed out, and you know, obviously she has gotten very outspoken about this. Is that a lot of these people who see these things when politicians do it, if they're on their side of the aisle, they're like, oh fuck, you know, I'm not gonna call him out. Oh no, he's on the right side of history.
Mm-hmm.
We can forgive him because he is on the right side of history.
Or punching left, as it were.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say this right now. If I were the husband of any of those women, I'd be in jail right now for killing a head of state. I'd walk into this motherfucker's office and beat the brakes off him. So, personally, whenever I hear stories like this happening to somebody, and then they don't get punished for it, when there's like clear evidence that they did it, it's a little infuriating. It's also a little infuriating when the people that say they're going to hold people accountable do it selectively. Now, it's true of just about any sort of group or hashtag or whatever. Every single one of them that I've ever seen will have a blind spot. But then again, I think that's part of the problem in the first place. You either hold your ideals or you don't. You know, if you're not going to be honest about having a bias, then shut the fuck up. Don't act like you're some sort of arbiter of what is righteous and just. So, it's been an interesting thing to see. Because there are some people on the left that want him to be held accountable. There are also ones that don't. Which is why you're not seeing a whole lot of this talked about in the media. I was genuinely surprised that Chris Cuomo, Fredo, that he said openly on CNN, I will not be discussing this because it's my brother. So he, in a rare occasion, someone in the media recused themselves. Granted, probably for the wrong reasons. Couple donations came in. 3 actually. Servant throws in $1, says, remove Cuomo, de Blasio, Newsom, Walz, and the rest of these twats. If only. Bobcat throws in a buck, says, checks under Cuomo's name. D? ? He'll be fine. Sadly. And Servant goes, wait, who's been reading your articles? Rose McGowan. He says, also, as a sane man, a Christian, and an American, I'll join you in the next cell in that case. Well, that's the thing. I don't say that it's just like, it's got nothing to do with like nationality or anything like that. It's got everything to do with being an older brother. And an uncle. You know? I remember, funny story, last time I went home to visit family, one of my nieces was talking about some boys, bother him at school. And you hear me in the back of my dad's house go, who are they? And then somebody heard my keys coming out of my pocket. And Dad's like, no, Micah, it's Christmas. He had to remind me it's Christmas. Do not go intimidating people, please. So, but regardless, it's an interesting thing. But the big thing is that the conservatives, I've noticed, like, have been trying to emphasize the simple fact that this guy is a blowhard scumbag. But it ain't just because he's really bad with women to the point where he probably, deserves to be taken out to the woodshed. This is a guy who knowingly put at-risk COVID patients in places where it would be easier for them to catch the illness and die. And then the media has tried to play him off as some sort of a fucking hero.
Not only that, he actively tried to cover it up. And nothing.
Yeah, he got an Emmy for his press conferences. I turned into Nemesis for a moment. Stars. But anywho. So he basically, the amount of deaths because of Andrew Cuomo's idiot policies are more than the deaths at 9/11. If I recall correctly. It's pretty up there. So congratulations, asshole, you beat Osama's kill count. Imagine being a sitting governor of New York, and being more of a threat to New Yorkers than the fucking Taliban. I think that honestly makes the point. This is a guy who should not be in office anymore. Honestly. I'm very much of the opinion that he should get thrown out. We've already reported on the fact that he is under federal investigation for what he did during COVID. I'm praying that somebody nails him to the fucking wall, but I don't think it's going to happen.
He's facing possible impeachment too, but again, you can draft the articles. That doesn't mean they're going to fucking go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm praying it does, because somebody's got to pay. The bill's got to come due at some point. Servant actually asks, after throwing in another $1, didn't we do Exterminatus on Cuomo already? We did! So we don't like him here. I think that goes without saying. Real quick. Somebody's been trying to get a hold of me on Twitter. I'm gonna see, who that is real quick.
It's Rose McGowan. Turns out she watches the podcast too.
That'd be pretty cool, actually. I'd have her on. I'd like to talk to her. Be like, so that dress you wore when you were dating Marilyn Manson,
oh, God.
You caused me to go through puberty. Thank you. Because, she was quite the looker in her prime, man. Well, she's no slouch now. It's just, yeah. I was just like, damn.
I know virtually jack shit about her, so.
I didn't know anything about her until I saw that footage on MTV, and I'm like, I'm an ass man now. Thank you.
Oh, so she's responsible.
That's the irony of it. Alright. Let's move on. This is something I found very interesting. So, if you were to ask me, Micah, are you salty about the fact that so many people gave you shit about being against the Capitol riots? I would say yes. Because I was right. I tend to be right a lot. In fact, I would like the chat to remind the Spurgs out there that I was right by putting in hashtag Micah was right. And somebody who agrees with me is the leader of the Proud Boys.
Uh-oh.
Hmm.
This isn't the FBI informant one, is it?
No.
Okay.
So, this is from the Washington Times. Proud Boys leader Henry Enrique Tarrio said members of the group messed up for being among the mobs that breached the U.S. Capitol building on January 6th, but he denied any of them planned the attack. I think it was a horrible idea to go to the Capitol, Mr. Tarrio said Thursday while speaking to an NBC station in Florida. He says it set the Conservative Party back. He goes on to say that, we are going to hire lawyers as a group to defend the people that were there, not from the fact that they fucked up, but the fact that they are being overcharged. So on top of that, I want you guys to understand what that means here. He says, I'm going to help the guys who are in the Proud Boys who are being charged only because they're being overcharged. I'm not trying to get them out of jail time or out of a conviction. I'm trying to stop the overcharge. I'm trying to stop them from going to jail for too long or being charged with something they didn't do. That's fucking rare. You don't see a lot of people who lead any groups say that. Everybody shame Ultimate Agent, by the way, for being a jackass. Wasn't a guess. I was right. And it seems that this gentleman understands exactly what's going on here. The fact of the matter is this, and I'm pretty critical of the Proud Boys. I have been for a long time. Because a lot of people have asked me about them. Like, should conservatives support them? And I flat out said, I'm like, if they're just going to be a gang, then no. When it comes right down to it, there's a lot of stupidity when it came to that situation. A lot of stupid people said a lot of stupid things. The fact of the matter is that it helped no one. It really didn't. When a bunch of jackasses that are trying to fly the same flag as you are charge up Capitol Hill basically to wreck the joint, which is what they did, it's gonna make everybody who is part of that group look like shit. And the difference between Antifa and conservatives is that everybody in the media, anybody in the third estate, was waiting for the opportunity for people to fuck up once. And this is something that needs to be understood by everybody who is a conservative. And everybody who does not understand this needs to be outed as a fucking grifter that is trying to prey on people's prey on people's anger to get an extra $5 in super chats. The fact of the matter is this. I say this over and over and over again. The culture war is a game where there's two people sitting across from a table from each other. Each one has a gun. Each one has the ammo for the other person's gun. The goal is to get them to slide it across. Capitol Hill, you might as well have given him your gun too.
And a grenade.
Yeah. I was right. I usually am right about these sorts of things. And other people realize it too. And this is something that needs to be understood, I think, by everybody. Is the culture war is not won by being the same people that your opponent is, but just a different name, or adopting the same tactics. And I'll say this right now. Any of the YouTubers that supported this nonsense can go eat a dick for all I care.
Because of course they like eating dick. In which case,
suck whatever genitals you find least appealing. So, when it comes right down to it, I look at situations like this, I see statements like this from the leader of the Proud Boys. And I'm starting to realize that there's a lot of people out there that understand we got to be smart to win instead of just having force. And that's a good thing, and that's the way that it needs to go. Because if we, like, when it comes to the culture war in general, we don't start being smart about things, the inevitability will come that we will lose very badly. So, I like this comment here from Leonardo Juan. The Capitol riot was nothing more but bait, and the people who fell for it should wear the dunce hat until the day they die. Or at least until they apologize or realize how stupid they were. There was never a cue, there was never a plan, or anything like that. Donald Trump lost. It happens. We gotta examine why, and then win next time. That's basically it. Because that's what smart people do. Not to mention, it's also what our opponents will do. So if you like losing, continue to support the grifters. You can feel righteous all the way to the point when we're looking at an Orwellian nightmare outside of our windows. Or you can be smarter than them and actually fucking win. Alright. It is now time for our final topic of the day. We're going to think a little bit. Hatman.
Yes.
Are you prepared, sir?
I suppose. I don't have much of a choice now, do I?
No, you don't. So Hatman this week is going to talk about reopening the states. About the pros and cons, but also why it is that we see people that are within the federal government being so against it. So Hatman, it's all yours.
So, here's the thing. We've been at this for a year now. It's been about a year since the lockdowns first started. And things are better, dare I say, because numbers have dropped. There is a vaccine out there that is being deployed and people are getting it, and it's effective. Multiple vaccines, I should really say. And on top of that, it's proven to be effective against the multiple strains of COVID that are coming out now because, that's what viruses do. They change, they evolve. Doctors, even at the beginning of this pandemic, said that it was very likely that COVID would ultimately become a seasonal illness, like another flu, for example. And certainly that seems to be the case. So at this point, why in the hell do we still have these mandated lockdowns? Why are we still having businesses close? Why are we still having curfews in some cases? Why fucking why? This all started to flatten the fucking curve. And when the curve did get flattened, we were told, no, we need to actually just kill it all together. The lockdowns need to continue. And in fact, they'll get stricter. And what happened? People finally lost their shit. I mean, people were patient at the start of this. A year ago, people were, for the most part, patient. Even it's just the flu, bro, folks were like, you know what? It's okay. Like, a couple of weeks of lockdown stuff, whatever. No skin off my fucking back. But a couple of weeks turned into a month. A month turned into 2 months, which turned into 6 months. And now a year later, we're still fucking there. Despite the fact that, once again, the curve is being flattened, and we have a fucking vaccine for it that's shown to be effective. So why this? Why continue it? Frankly, I don't know. The prevailing theory now is that this is all for social control, but frankly, I don't fucking buy it. Mostly because everyone is fucking suffering from this. Money is being slung at the problem left and right, except it's not actually going to, the people who fucking need it. So everyone is hurting. And at this point, I don't have an explanation for why this continues, except for it's just gross incompetence. I mean, look at Sir Governor Cuomo. The gross incompetence of putting COVID patients back into nursing homes where they could infect more people and see how that went. Or Governor Newsom of California, who so bravely shut down restaurants and other businesses, unless, of course, you were making a movie which could make the state of California some money, in which case, no, we'll look the other way for you guys. We will. So what the hell is it going to take to stop this shit? Frankly, it's going to take some fucking leadership. It's going to take balls, like we've seen with Florida and with Texas. Stop the fucking mandates. Now, again, if businesses want to stay on the safe side, err to caution, and require patrons to wear masks throughout their entire time in there, that's fine. Businesses have the right to do that. But we need to reopen. We need to get back to fucking normal. We cannot continue to live in fear of this fucking virus. And we can't continue to basically surrender our liberties to people who claim to want to keep us safe, but clearly are incompetent at doing that. So yeah, we do need these people to fucking stand up. Frankly, I don't think storming any kind of Capitol building like what happened in Michigan several months back is a solution, because that's just going to fucking backfire on the people. That's going to make us look retarded. What we need to do is put pressure, not that kind of pressure, but still pressure on the state officials to overturn this shit the right way, the way that, we're allowed to by writing our representatives. Allowed to was a really poor fucking choice of words there.
Yes.
Because frankly, yes, you are allowed to fucking protest. You are. But when you do something stupid like storm a Capitol, like we just talked about before, yeah, of course you're basically gonna flag your movement as too extreme. And you can't do that. This is ultimately a game of optics too. But it's also a game of dominoes. And as Florida and Texas start the chain, maybe some other states will fall. Maybe we'll get some of our fucking freedoms back before summertime. Otherwise, we're going to be triple masking up throughout all of next year. And frankly, I don't want to fucking do that.
I am in complete agreement. I wanted to touch on specifically the protesting part, though. One of the most interesting things... how many of you people who are on Twitter remember Ramen Guy? I remember Ramen Guy. Ramen Guy was hilarious. Because it was this dude eating uncooked ramen like a fucking potato chip. And he would just, dash a little bit of the seasoning on it and then just start chewing on it. And he was watching CNN footage where they talk about, or Cuomo was asking, is like, where does it say that you have to peacefully protest? And then the dude's just like, it's in the Constitution, because it is. Constitutionally speaking, the instant that your protests turn violent, you can't. You don't have. It's not about free speech at that point. Because at that point, you're threatening somebody else's right to life, or liberty, or property. If you're going to damage their property as well. And that's something that needs to be understood. Is like, if you're gonna, if you are gonna protest these lockdowns, which by the way I don't think is a bad thing at all, do it wisely. Do it in a way that's not gonna violate the Constitution. Do it in a way so that you can get your, where you can get your point across without coming, without coming across like a thug. Don't be Antifa. Don't
give the opposition a reason to dismiss the protests. Don't.
All right. We have reached that time of the show. It's time for Q&A. I'm going to check and see if I missed any donations. I think I did. Yes, from Changus. He says, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Benjamin Franklin. Bingo.
Thank you, Ben Franklin. Yep.
Fucking bingo. Good quote, Changus. So let's go ahead and get rolling. Let me grab... Alright. Let me hit the blah blah blah, the Discord server first for the patrons. By the way, if you want to become a patron, in which case you get first access whenever it comes to anything Q&A, links are in the description. Let's go ahead and get it rolling. Duke of Tumwater has our first question. He says, I'm going to move my microphone so you guys can hear me a little bit better. Should Republicans adopt a more big tent strategy when they act as a coalition of various right-wing ideologies? Sort of like the Rothard Buchanan alliance in the 90s, or should they have more stringent ideological requirements for their members? I think that really I'm not against gatekeeping at this point. There are certain people that need to be called out and be like, you're not welcome here. One thing that I point out to people all the time is that I don't remember which DNC it was. I want to say it was 2000 or this DNC or not DNC, the RNC, or it was CPAC, one or the other, where Richard Spencer showed up. Bitch lasted 5 minutes, and he got kicked the fuck out. Another time, Sacha Baron Cohen came in, dressed in a KKK outfit. He lasted 5 minutes, then he got booted the fuck out.
Didn't Fuentes also get the boot from CPAC at some point?
No, he got the boot from from one of Charlie Kirk's rallies.
There you go.
So, I'm not against that. I do think that discussion with people further to the left actually is somewhere I would actually go to. And that means further to the left of conservative, meaning libertarians. But the extreme right, fuck them. Those are where the grifters are. And given the damage that they have tried to do to the Republican Party over the last 4 years, fuck them. I don't want them anywhere near it. Talon wants to know, how do you handle certain folks when you talk to them about politics they agree with you and show them the evidence they accept it, but when you speak to them later on they return to the same position they were at the start? I say, but you just agreed with me on blah blah. You said, and then X. You got to bring them back to that second where they agreed.
Yeah.
That's basically how I've done it. And it works pretty well. You got to make people eat their words sometimes.
Ain't that the damn truth?
Chaos Sonic wants to know. He's hoping that Cuomo gets kicked out because he did this shit for a long time. There's some personal stuff in here, so I'm not going to read it. He says, as for my question, thoughts on the media trying to push that Republicans were the reason cancel culture exists? Oh, I am very not happy about that nonsense. In fact, when Bill Maher went out against cancel culture, he actually started off by saying, it's not what Republicans say whenever people hold them accountable. I'm like, bitch, fuck you.
There was that Hillary Clinton tweet that went out today or yesterday
about freedom fries. And I'm like, bitch, you supported the Iraq war. You were all over that shit. Mm-hmm. You be quiet. Mm-hmm. Go make me a sandwich. Mm-hmm. And while you're on the way to making me a sandwich, just make sure Bill isn't fucking the maid. So...
Keep in mind, too, Liberty Cabbage predates Freedom Fries by, several fucking decades.
Yeah. So yeah, fuck the media for that. They're a bunch of assholes. Rias Khan wants to know, need help with the upcoming Derek Chauvin trial and all the measures being taken. I'm worried I see worse riots in my area. It's causing vitriol and anger that I felt in the summer start to creep back in. What can I do not to go down that dark path again? Well, let me say this. I've been reading about the trial. I posted a little bit about it in the politics section, and I'll reread what I put in there. So I put in, because basically what they're talking about is how they're going to charge Chauvin at the trial. It's looking like it's going to be second-degree murder. When he actually said he would plead guilty to third degree, which would put him in jail for 10 years, and then he'd be on probation afterwards. From what I understand of Michigan law, and I can be wrong here, but if I'm reading it right, the thing that I'm seeing is that if they go with, or him being willing to plead guilty to third degree says a lot, and that will probably come up in the course of the trial. But what they have to prove when it comes to second degree murder specifically is that they have to prove that what was done to Derek Chauvin was due to malice, Whereas third-degree murder, it is you have to prove that he is not just not of sound mind. That sounds to me like the easier charge, because the dude had a history of being a bad cop. He had like several complaints per year lodged against him. Like, I have not, like, heard any interview of people that know him that have said a good word about him. This dude was a grade A asshole. But the problem is you have to prove that he's a kind of asshole that would kill somebody given the opportunity. Whereas, like, a manslaughter charge, you have to, it's, how do I put this? You have to, there's a difference between having to prove that he's a murderous cunt and to prove that he's a stupid cunt who got somebody killed because he's a stupid cunt. The second one is that there were obvious other actions that could have been taken to save the life of George Floyd that were not taken. In which case, that's what I would argue from the tape what I saw. Is that Floyd was saying he was having problems breathing, he wasn't feeling well, and stuff like that. And he was feeling claustrophobic and all this stuff. And it's like, look, if you're going to charge him, you need to charge him and get him an ambulance. The last thing you want to be doing is putting him on the ground with your fucking knee on his neck. The dude's a piece of shit. He should be in jail. I'm of the opinion that manslaughter is the charge. But the problem is that the DA, Keith Ellison, is an idiot. If there's a part of you that is looking for something to blame, Derek Chauvin, he deserves your ire. You're not going to hear me say otherwise. The issue is that if a conviction is not reached, that's the fault of Keith Ellison for being a shitty DA.
Yep.
As in regards to it bringing into your own life, the best thing you can do is pray about it. And also understand this. There's a lot of people out there that are the exact opposite of Derek Chauvin. A lot of them. Who look like me. You know? And a lot of people out there that are just outraged at the fact that George Floyd is dead when he shouldn't be. Doesn't matter what his criminal past was or anything like that. A man is dead when he shouldn't be. That's the end.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason I say Jack Posobiec's a fucking idiot. Making the well, he was a criminal. Yes, he was a criminal many years ago. That doesn't mean that he deserved to be flattened out on the sidewalk when he feels like he's having a heart attack and get a fucking knee on his neck. Derek Chauvin's a fucking scumbag, and Jack Posobiec's a fucking scumbag for trying to play interference for him. But there are people out there that are with you. Just understand that. Let's see here. Hardboiled asks, curious how many copies of Cuomo's COVID leader book actually got sold. Is it even out yet? I don't even know. And I wonder how many of those people would regret it. I got no fucking clue. But Servant wants to know. Haven't been in church in a while because the moron playing governor here in Minnesota has mandated pastors and only pastors cannot talk to congregation both before or after services. Given that, it looks like the party in this state have not shown that they have brains. You think his opponents will act on this, or decisions need to be louder to make him and his party cave and open, not storming? Yes to both. You know, like if I was a political opponent, I would absolutely be running on this. Absolutely. But then again, that's the point. Every mistake that your opponent makes, you should fucking hammer them on it if you want that office.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you should absolutely. You know, there should be people writing and calling and so on and so forth that office every fucking day, demanding that the state be reopened. Derek Mozzarella wants to know, thoughts on Trump and others' continued claims of massive election fraud. How can we convince him it wasn't enough for him to win? So my friends think that it's stolen and they won't hear otherwise. At this point, some people just aren't going to be convinced. the one thing, like, Steven Crowder is still going off on it. And I'm like, I don't dislike Crowder at all, but every show of his I have watched since he came back, I fucking hated it. Because the entire premise of his show right now is operating on a straw man. No one is saying that there was zero fraud, voter fraud. Like, I don't know who is saying this and why we should take them seriously. The question is whether or not there was enough for Donald Trump to still be the president. But then again, I warned every conservative that would listen, don't put all your fucking eggs in the Trump basket. Lo and behold, guess who was right again? So when it comes right down to it, I would just ignore him and that part. Because I have friends that are like that too. And I'm just at the point where it's like, look, if you're not going to listen to reason, let's just not have the discussion. That's basically it. And finally, no, there's not anything in general. So, good. So, now for the chat. Who in the chat's got a question for us? Thought some people, this is from Leonardo Juan, thought some people signing a petition that government demands Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to be impeached. I mean, give it a shot, sure, but it's not going to go anywhere. Let's see here. Yamza344 wants to know, outside of teachers, what union group do you think is the worst? Please don't say all, I agree, but it's too easy. Outside of the teachers' unions. Ooh.
Police union.
Yeah, I think I would have to argue police unions. I would agree with that. I think that there's been too many cases where they cover for bad cops. And I talk about this...
That's the reason why reform hasn't happened sooner.
Yeah. And oddly enough, all the police unions are Democrats. At least the heads of them. I think that, I think it goes back to the old adage. You got 100 cops in a room, and two of them are dirty, you have 2 dirty cops. You got 100 cops in a room, 2 of them are dirty, and the rest are covering for them, you got 100 dirty cops.
Mm-hmm.
That's police unions in a nutshell.
Yep.
That was actually one thing that, in my opinion, made me kind of endeared a little bit more to Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. Is he was an IA guy who brought down corrupt cops, but they called him Two-Face. And I'm like, but he did the right thing. Like, why am I supposed to find him as bad guy? Mr. Who, I think that your analysis of my statements is incorrect. I have no issues with police officers. I have an issue with police unions and their tendency to cover up dirty cops. Has nothing to do with police in general. I said nothing of the sort. And if you would like to, there is a DVR function here on YouTube where you can rewind it and listen to what I said again, because you are incorrect, my friend. So, I'm not the type of person to do that. I've never done anything of the sort, and you kind of hinting that I did do something like that is a little bit childish, to say the least. So, Cody Drake in the chat says, your beard's looking good, better than the chin strap. Thanks, Cody. I'm a fan of this beard too. The problem that I have is I'll like be shaving lackadaisically, and then I'll shave a little too far down, and then it just eventually turns into the chin strap again. And it's like shit. So, what else we got here? Miguel Barrera says, so have you heard some of the illegal immigrants in the caravan coming here to the USA having COVID. Do you think they'll use that as justification to continue lockdowns? Fucking no. Sorry for my response on that. It's just they don't give a shit about illegal aliens coming here. They want them here. So,
No.
Holy Ninja Joe wants to know, and Hatman, I'm going to let you answer this one. Thoughts on the recent voter legislation, which includes automatic voter registration and giving voter rights to formerly incarcerated?
Yeah, it's HR 1, and GTA Driver also asked about HR 1 too. To answer that one, I don't think it would cause a civil war, but it's still fucking disturbing how far it goes. Basically, yeah, automatic voter registration, that's for like anyone who gets a driver's license, basically. That means that they can register people who are otherwise ineligible to fucking vote. And I think there's some stipulations where, like, after you turn 18, you're automatically registered to vote, which is also fucked because, again, it's going to register people who are otherwise ineligible. It does away with any kind of voter ID requirements. So any states that have those, sorry, too bad. All you have to do is just confirm your address and do whatever the fuck you want. Just like same-day voter registration. Same-day registration is often abused by people who want to vote multiple times because people can't confirm that a fucking address exists while they're up there fucking taking your registration down. It doesn't work like that. So, no, it's basically trying to register a whole bunch of new voters that really have no business being registered because they are otherwise ineligible. And I believe Ayanna Pressley also introduced an amendment to H.R. 1, which I don't think it passed, calling for the voting age to be lowered down to 16, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's one big fucking virtue signal. I think it's bullshit. Fuck it. If you know me, you know I vehemently support voter ID laws.
Yes, we both do. Here's an interesting one. What is the difference between narcissism and solipsism? So solipsism is this idea that your belief, that your perception is reality. Narcissism is the idea of you are the most important thing on the universe. It's a little
Yeah.
One is more based in arrogance, the other one is based in delusion.
If I remember correctly, solipsism is basically like the foundation of the brain in a jar philosophical theory.
Basically.
So, and that's virtually incompatible with narcissism.
Yeah.
So,
and then, actually, that's going to have to be the last question, because it is time for us to go ahead and bring this to a close. So, Hatman, from what I saw in the mod chat, yeah, you're going to have to be the one. So, we're going to go ahead and take off. We'll be back in about 15 or so minutes to go over entertainment. We'll be discussing Dr. Seuss being posthumously canceled. Plus, also, I watched more Gundam. So that's a thing. I actually took time to watch something this last week, believe it or not. So, alright folks, we are going to go ahead and take off. So hang around, don't go anywhere. We will be back in 15, but until then, my name is Micah Curtis.
and I'm Alex Baldwin, reminding you once again to get the fuck out of New York.
Indeed. We'll see you guys soon. Be as full.